So let's demonstrate a few things that we're going to be cutting today with our newfound knife skills. So obviously if we're having kids use the knives, make sure that you're comfortable with having them use an actual knife. Some safer alternatives would, as I said before, would be the nylon knives. And so soft foods that they could also participate in cutting is things like tomatoes. And nylon knives typically come serrated anyway, so they're perfect for cutting things like tomatoes. So first, when we cut them, we want to slice them in half. Obviously we wash them and then we slice them in half. And then we actually just want to cut in the middle. So typically when you're making a salad or anything else that uses raw tomatoes, we want to seed them, take the seeds out is what I mean, because then it would make the dressing and the texture of the salad less wet and not soggy. So these are great ways for kids to be involved with as well, because if you cut them, then kids can just spend that time taking the seeds out. Obviously they're not going to do it as smoothly as grown-ups would, but this is a great way to just have them preoccupied for a bit while you're working on something else in the kitchen, cooking and stuff. So these are great ways that they can take up their attention while you're preparing other foods. So again, you can just sort of cut around it and then just seed it however which way you like. And these are great to, all right. And then they can turn it on with the skin side up, and then they can just start slicing into whatever shapes that you ask them to or demonstrate for them to do. So if we dice them, they can just take their time into cutting them dice it into little pieces. These are just great ways for kids to sort of learn how to use a knife in a safe space, because you're also going to be watching them as well. And then we also have the jalapenos. So I wanted to demonstrate the jalapenos because in case some families are not familiar with it, I would say that quite a few families have used jalapenos before, but just to be safe, we want to make sure we don't touch the seeds as much as possible, because they can really burn when you touch them to your eye, touch your hand to your eye. So we just kind of want to slice it. And I would not recommend kids doing this part. So this is a grown-up step. And then we would just seed it. Cut the seeds out. So if you're doing this for a recipe that you're going to be doing with the families, I would recommend that you can either demo it during the session with the families or do this ahead of time. So that these are just ready to go and that there's no chance that kids will touch the seeds. Minimize that risk because it really does burn when they accidentally touch it and then touch their faces. So we just kind of cut along the serrated edges here. And then obviously remember to wash your hands when you're all done. The seeds are the spiciest part of this pepper. All right. And then you can dice them or cut them into whatever shape that you need it to be. And then the same thing with this one here. All right, and then you can also give them a good rinse in the sink as well to make sure all the seeds are gone, and then you cut them into the shape that you need it to be. All right. Okay, so now we're gonna cut the butternut squash. So this can be quite daunting because it's quite a hard vegetable to cut. So typically you could either peel the skin off. Most of the time I would peel the skin off, but today we're just gonna do it with the skin on. So use a regular vegetable peel and you just peel the skin off. And then we would just cut this lengthwise like this. Sometimes it's tricky to get it right in half. Ugh. Let's cut the end off here. And usually it helps if you stand up, but that's okay. All right, and then we're gonna scoop the seeds out. And the kids also love doing this part. Okay. Once it's clean, we can just turn it facing down. And I'll cut the end off here. And we can just cut them like this. Usually gets easier to cut. So once all the butternut squash is all cut up, you can either roast them as part of a side and make it as part of a side dish in your dinner. Sprinkle a little bit of salt and some pepper to bring the flavor out. You can roast it as a whole half, or you can roast them as slices like this, or you can cut them up into little diced pieces and roast them. If you have the butternut squash peeled, you can freeze and diced. You can freeze them and save them for another day. It's a great way to do some food prep so that you can take it out and put them on a baking tray to roast them to eat in diced pieces, or you can roast them and then put them in a blender with some salt, pepper, and some spices that you like and herbs, and blend them up and make it into a soup.